how we explain that when someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
The point I was making was not that my grandmother harbors any racial animosity. She doesn't. Right. But she is a typical white person who, if she sees somebody on the street that she doesn't know, there's a reaction that's been bred into our experiences that don't go away, and that sometimes come out in the wrong way.
Using a phrase like the typical white person is the kind of stereotyping that might offend African Americans if a white candidate were to refer to the typical black person. But the Obama campaign told Fox that Obama only intended to make clear that he didn't believe his grandmother harbored any racial animosity, but that her fears were understandable and typical of those often shared by her generation.
We're now joined by actor and activist Janine Garofalo. Good to see you.
Thank you. There is nothing more interesting than seeing a bunch of racists become confused and angry at a speech they're not quite certain what he's saying. It sounds right to them, and then it doesn't make sense. Which let's be very honest about what this is about. It's not about bashing Democrats. It's not about taxes. They have no idea what the Boston Tea Party was about.
That's right.
They don't know their history at all. This is about hating a black man in the White House. This is racism straight up. That is nothing but a bunch of tea-bagging rednecks. And there is no way around that. And, you can tell these type of right-wingers anything and they'll believe it except the truth. You tell them the truth and they become, it's like showing Frankenstein's monster fire. They become confused and angry and highly volatile. That guy caused in them feelings they don't know, because their limbic brain, we've discussed this before, the limbic brain inside a right-winger or Republican or conservative, or your average white power activist. The limbic brain is much larger in their head space than in a reasonable person, and it's pushing against the frontal lobe. So their synapses are misfiring.
I don't give a damn what they may feel about white people. I hate white people. All of them. Every last iota of a cracker, I hate him. Your enemy cannot make you free, fool. You want freedom? You're gonna have to kill some crackers. You're going to have to kill some of their babies. Let us get our act together. It's time to wake up, clean up, and stand up. Black power? Black power? I damn it, I said black power. Black power. Black power. That's wrong.
That's right.
I inquired further, trying to find out exactly what the Republicans' health care plan is, and it's my duty and pride tonight to be able to announce exactly what the Republicans plan to do for health care in America. It's this. Very simply, it's a very simple plan. Here it is. The Republicans' health care plan for America. Don't get sick. That's right. Don't get sick. If you have insurance, don't get sick. If you don't have insurance, don't get sick. If you're sick, don't get sick. Just don't get sick. That's what the Republicans have in mind for you, America. That's the Republicans' health care plan. But I think that the Republicans understand that that plan isn't always going to work. It's not a foolproof plan. So the Republicans have a backup plan in case you do get sick. If you get sick in America, this is what the Republicans want you to do. If you get sick, America, the Republican health care plan is this. Die quickly. That's right. The Republicans want you to die quickly if you get sick.
This is now their favorite stunt, the threat to shut down the government and to throw the poor and the old people and sick people in the street.
I'm Congressman Alan Grayson, and I approve this message.
Religious fanatics try to take away our freedom in Afghanistan, in Iran, and right here in Central Florida.
Wives, submit yourself to your own husband.
Daniel Webster wants to impose his radical fundamentalism on us.
She should submit to me. That's in the Bible.
Webster tried to deny battered women medical care and the right to divorce their abusers.
Submit to me.
He wants to force raped women to bear the child.
Submit to me.
Taliban Dan Webster. Hands off our bodies and our laws.
It is an image that has a congressman in Florida under fire. Representative Alan Grayson used it to compare the Tea Party to the Ku Klux Klan. Action News' Justin Gray caught up exclusively with the congressman. His response is all new tonight.
The image was meant to get attention, and it has. In a fundraising email, Florida Congressman Alan Grayson compared the Tea Party to the Ku Klux Klan. This picture attached went viral Tuesday. A burning cross depicted as tea for the Tea Party.
That's the truth, and sometimes the truth hurts.
I tracked down Grayson and talked to him exclusively one-on-one after a House vote. You stand by this email 100%?
I stand by the unfortunate truth that the Tea Party has been all too willing to open itself and be home to bigots and the prejudice now for years.
But the head of Freedom Works, a Tea Party-affiliated group, says it's the congressman and his email that are hateful.
You know, this is probably the most outrageous hate speech that I've seen come out of any sitting politician.
Just since this story broke, Congressman Grayson tells me his office has been flooded with emails and phone calls with the same kind of offensive and hateful speech he's talking about.
So many members of the Tea Party have engaged in hate speech against the president, against the First Lady, against numerous members of Congress, and against me. We could give you examples of that.
But is it a two wrongs don't make a right kind of situation here?
No, I'm calling them out for their hate. That's not wrong. That needs to be done.
And that's why Grayson tells me he won't apologize and won't back down. In Washington, Justin Gray, Action News.
Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz of Florida criticized Grayson's email today, saying there needs to be more civility from both sides.
Meantime, the head of the DNC is backing off a reference she made to Jim Crow laws. Representative Debbie Wasserman Schultz caught some flack after comparing voter ID laws supported by Republicans to Jim Crow laws. Jim Crow laws mandated separate public facilities, from schools to bathrooms, for black and white Americans. Wasserman Schultz now says she used the wrong analogy, but she still says she's worried proposed voter identification laws will limit voting access for African Americans and other minorities.
Patricia McAllister. I'm here representing myself, but I do work for the Los Angeles Unified School District. And I think that the Zionist Jews who are running these big banks in our Federal Reserve, which is not run by the federal government, they need to be run out of this country.
He'd asked the middle class to pay more in taxes so that he could give another $250,000 tax cut to people making more than $3 million a year. It's like Robin Hood in reverse. It's Romney Hood.
I don't think Mitt Romney understands what he's done to people's lives by closing the plant. I don't think he realizes that people's lives completely changed. When Mitt Romney and Bain closed the plant, I lost my health care. And my family lost their health care. And a short time after that, my wife became ill. I don't know how long she was sick. And I think maybe she didn't say anything because she knew that we couldn't afford the insurance. And then one day she became ill, and I took her up to the Jackson County Hospital and admitted her for pneumonia, and that's when they found the cancer. And by then it was stage 4. There was nothing they could do for her. And she passed away in 22 days. I do not think Mitt Romney realizes what he's done to anyone. And furthermore, I do not think Mitt Romney is concerned.
Priorities USA Action is responsible for the content of this advertising. Look at what they value and look at their budget and what they're proposing. Romney wants to he said in the first 100 days, he's going to let the big banks once again write their own rules. Unchain Wall Street. They're going to put you all back in chains.
Trump is reinforcing harmful stereotypes and offering a dog whistle to his most hateful supporters. So no one should have any illusions about what's really going on here. The names may have changed. Racists now call themselves racialists. White supremacists now call themselves white nationalists. The paranoid fringe now calls itself alt-right. But the hate burns just as bright. And now Trump is trying to rebrand himself as well.
You know, to just be grossly generalistic, you could put half of Trump's supporters into what I call the basket of deplorables. Right? The racist, sexist, homophobic, xenophobic, Islamophobic, you name it. And unfortunately, there are people like that. And he has lifted them up. He has given voice to their websites that used to only have 11,000 people, now have 11 million. He tweets and retweets. They're offensive, hateful, mean-spirited rhetoric. Now, some of those folks, they are irredeemable, but thankfully they are not America. But the other
But there's another side to this. People have talked about a miracle. I'm hearing about a nightmare. It's hard to be a parent tonight for a lot of us. You tell your kids, don't be a bully. You tell your kids, don't be a bigot. You tell your kids, do your homework and be prepared. And then you have this outcome, and you have people putting children to bed tonight, and they're afraid of breakfast. They're afraid of, how do I explain this to my children? I have Muslim friends who are texting me tonight saying, should I leave the country? I have families of immigrants that are terrified tonight. This was many things. This was a rebellion against the elites. True, it was a complete reinvention of politics and polls, it's true. But it was also something else. We've talked about race. I mean, we've talked about everything but race tonight. We've talked about income. We've talked about class. We've talked about region. We haven't talked about race. This was a white lash. This was a white lash against a changing country. It was a white lash against a black president in part. And that's the part where the pain comes. And Donald Trump has a responsibility tonight to come out and reassure people that he is going to be the president of all the people who he insulted and offended and brushed aside. Yeah, when you say, you want to take your country back, you got a lot of people who feel that we're not represented well either. But we don't want to feel that someone has been elected by throwing away some of us to appeal more deeply to others. So this is a deeply painful moment tonight. I know it's not just about race. There's more going on than that. But race is here too, and we got to talk about it.
Is this what Donald Trump and Ed Gillespie mean by the American dream? Latino Victory Fund paid for and is responsible for the content of this advertisement.
A freshman lawmaker is taking heat for remarks that critics are calling anti-Semitic. In a tweet, Minnesota Democratic Congresswoman Ilhan Omar suggested that Republican support for Israel is fueled by money, specifically by donations from a pro-Israel lobbying group. We have senior congressional correspondent Mani Raju with details.
Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, in just her 7th week in office, again enduring sharp backlash after challenging support for Israel. The latest, a series of tweets Sunday that were criticized as anti-Semitic. First, in response to this threat from House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy.
If they do not take action, I think you'll see action from myself on ways that this cannot sustain itself. It's unacceptable in this country.
Minnesota Democrat tweeted, "It's all about the Benjamins, baby." That remark sparking an uproar, including from fellow freshman Democrat Max Rose, who called her statements deeply hurtful to Jews, including myself, calling her statement offensive by implying that Americans support Israel because of money alone. As the controversy grew, Omar sought to clarify her comments by tweeting AIPAC, implying she was referring to the powerful pro-Israel lobby. Yet that tweet doing little to calm the storm. Fellow Democrat Josh Gottheimer called it an anti-Semitic trope that is hurtful to so many Americans. Today, Gottheimer, along with fellow Jewish Democrat Elaine Luria, seeking signatures for a letter they plan to send to Democratic leaders, saying they are deeply alarmed by recent rhetoric from certain members within our caucus.
The gun control debate heating up in the wake of recent mass shootings. San Francisco officials passing a resolution that labels the National Rifle Association as a, quote, domestic terrorist organization. And the city's Board of Supervisors, they're urging the federal government to do the same. The NRA slamming the move as, quote, a ludicrous stunt.
No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.